Okay, we'll get this started. I figured we would leave this in the dark to make it more creepy. I don't know if it does. We'll figure it out. My dad's haunted house story. And I'm gonna break down the stuff that I remember up to date. And I remember that the events kind of started honestly in 2015. I think around that time. I might not be accurate, but it's just weird because my dad has owned the property for almost 30 years. So the first thing that happened was my mom. She had a home health nurse, and the nurse would come and stay, and she would tell us like, hey, your house is a little weird, and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, me and your mom, sometimes when there's nobody here but us, we can hear voices, and she's like, it's kind of freaking me out, and she said almost like I hear babies and weird sounds, and my mom would confirm that, and I was like, well, it's weird. And I was like, I've never noticed anything, and she's like, yeah, and she was like, it's very very disturbing, and I was like, okay, well, what do you propose? She's like, I don't know. She's like, I guess it'll be okay. So a little time passes, and me and my dad, we were out eating or getting food, and she called me like very upset, very frantic, and she was talking about. She's like, "Hey, you guys need to come home right now, or I'm leaving." And I'm like, "Why? What's going on?" And she said the kitchen chair flipped over and slid in the living room on me and your mother. And she's like, "I'm scared." She's like, "I'm going." You guys need to come home. And my mom was like, "Yeah." She's like, "She's telling the truth." And when we got home, the chair was still in there. So we picked it up and moved it. And I could tell she was very upset. And she's like, "Look, from now on, if you guys are not here when I'm here, I'm gonna come." She's like, "I can't be in your house by myself with me and your mother." She's like, I can't." And I told her I understood that I'd make sure we were here. And I honestly never really noticed anything. And I don't recall anything else going on after that point of time from 2015. And then my mom passed away in April of 2016. And then I think nothing else actually happened as far as I know. And at that time, obviously, the nurse was there, not coming out no more. And I think the first thing that I remember happening was one event where me and my dad, we were, or no, my dad was gone. I was home, and the door alarm on the back door will always notify you when it opens. It'll tell you that the door's opened. And the door opens up, and the dogs go nuts. So I'm assuming my dad's home. So I go in to check, and there's nobody there. The door's open, but it's still locked. And I was like, that's strange. So I thought, well, maybe, the wind blew it and he didn't shut it all the way because he does have a habit of that sometimes. And so then I went back there, I shut it, made sure it was all the way shut, locked, and the storm door was shut and latched. So about 5 to 10 minutes later, the door opens up again. Same sound. Dogs run back in there, of course, go crazy. So that time I knew Dad had to be home because I'd made sure it was, cause there's no way you're getting in. So I was like, Dad, you back? What are you doing? And I go in there, sure enough, there's nobody home, and the door is wide open once again. And at this time, I'm like, okay, this is getting a little freaky to me, right? And I had other paranormal experiences earlier in my life, so I was kind of not new to it. But at my house, I was new to it. So I obviously shut the door again, and it happened the third time. It happened the third time, and at that time, I called Dad. I was like, "Hey, man, where are you at?" He's like, He's like, "I'm almost home." He said, "What's going on?" I was like, "I'll just tell you when you get here." So he got home. I explained it to him what was going on, and he didn't believe me. And I told him, I was like, "Daddy, I was like, I'm telling you the truth." I said, "Man, look, I don't know what's going on here, but I was like, it's not normal." And so he's like, "Okay, well, what do you think we should do?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't know right now." So we kind of just forgot about it, And then we would hear some footsteps. We would have knocking at the doors, and there would be nobody there. We'd literally get up and look. There's no cars, nobody outside, and then it would do the windows a few times. I had banging on mine. So then, me and my father, we were sitting there at the table eating supper one night, and he had a box of little like diabetic needles that he takes, and they literally picked themselves up and just slammed into the fridge and went everywhere. At that time, I was like, okay, I'm not hungry anymore. I don't know what's going on at this house, but this is getting very weird. And at that time, I thought about getting cameras, setting them up. I was like, well, that's just a waste of time. And Dad's like, what do you think this is? You think it's Mom? I was like, no, it's not Mom. This was going on before she passed, and Mom wouldn't do that to us. And so we went on, and then nothing else occurred for a little while, other than like the occasional like lights and stuff would flicker off and on, and we'd see shadows and stuff. And so my little sister kept telling me that she's like, hey, I see the man sitting on Daddy's bed at night. And I'm like, what do you mean, what man? She's like, I don't know who he is. He sits on Daddy's bed. And Daddy said he would see shadows in the room. So I put some baby powder down, and sure enough, caught one print, one big print. And it wasn't a shoe print or a foot. It was just more like it was almost like a shoe with no print on it, like it was a smooth. Like on the bottom, there's no like identifiable character to the shoe, no grip or nothing. It was almost like it was just smooth. It was like maybe like somebody had put a bag over their foot and stepped in it, or not even that. It was just perfectly smooth. So I showed it to Dad, and he's like, well, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I told him, at the time I told my cousin, and she, said, hey, do you want us to come over and maybe sage the place? And I was like, yeah. I was like, we can try that. She's like, I'll get some sage, but she never came over with it. So some time passes, and the events weren't like every day or every other day. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't all the time. It was just here and there. So I never felt anything scary from it, terrifying or threatening or evil. So then, sometime later, I was walking down the hall to the room, and all of a sudden, it just sounded like somebody was running down the hall, stomping after me. Of course, turn around, nothing. Our dogs come out barking like they see something, but I don't see anything, and that gave me chills. That scared me. And at this time, I called Daddy, and he was coming in the house, and I was telling him what was going on. And he's like, that's funny. He's like, I could have swore I heard somebody walking when I was leaving today in the kitchen, but I didn't see anything. I was like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, I just didn't want to bring it up and didn't want to bother you with it. I was like, okay, well. So a little bit later, I guess maybe 2018, 2019, this was going on. And then my dad was changing the central air heat filter. And all of a sudden, some dog food hit him. He's like, why are you throwing dog food? I'm like, dude, how can I throw dog food when I'm in the room? Dog food's in the kitchen. I have no way to throw dog food at you. He said, that's a good point. And sure enough, he turned around, there was 4 or 5 pieces of dog food on the floor that had been thrown and hit him. And so I was like, I don't know, man. And so we honestly just, we got to the point to where it was like this, where we were just like dealing with it, just kind of like living with it. And so then one night I was watching TV, and then my trash can goes flying across the floor. Of course, freaks the dog out. She jumps off the bed, going over barking at it, and I called Daddy in there and I showed him. And so I told him, I was like, we've got to do something, either call somebody, get some sage, or get camera or something. And then I think the last thing that has happened, which was this year, which was 2021, I had noticed this lady walk down the hall. I didn't recognize her, but I recognized what she had on. It was a very light blue, like dress type, like almost like some old lady would wear to church. And she had on a white sweater type deal, but she wasn't wearing it around her arms. It was just kind of draped over her shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And so then she had on these white pearls, really like gray hair, and she kind of just smiled at me, and like it was friendly, and she just walked through the wall, and she just was gone. And I mean, even though she seemed friendly, it caught me. So then we did get the sage, and then I honestly left it in the car, and now it's gone. So I asked my little sister, has she seen the little man anymore? And she said, no, not recently. And I was like, just let me know if you do. She's like, okay. She's like, I have seen shadows in the past. I was like, I know. She's like, who are they? I was like, I don't know, honey. I don't know. So I know that a lot of people have experiences, in their own houses. And I would love to know what y'all are going through, because we're currently going through it. And any advice would be great, because I honestly don't know. Like I said, sage or maybe cameras. I thought about setting them up and just trying to see if I could find out what it was, if it's anything. I don't think it's evil. I have had a couple scratches. I've been shook awake. I've had sleep paralysis, one out of body experience, and that was the extent of that. So whatever it is, I honestly don't think it's. I think it's more of a playful, friendly spirit than like. I don't think it's like a demonic or anything like that, evil entity. It is definitely a spirit, but maybe more than one. I'm not sure. So if I have any more incidents happen, I will post an update video. So if you have any questions or any similar experiences, leave it in the comments. Let me know, because I would love to know. I do love this kind of stuff, and I do love to hear other people's experience of what they're dealing with, what they go through, and what they possibly have done to solve it. I even had somebody tell me to call a priest. I'm not going to do that. I don't think we even have a priest here. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Like I said, if I have any updates or anything else, I will post an update video continuing this story. All right, thank you so much, and peace out.